So now that you guys have done your shapes, landscape, what we're going to do is start studying a bit about form. So shapes are two-dimensional, but forms are three-dimensional, which means there are, well, three-dimensional sides. So there's a top, there's a bottom, there's sides in this, okay? Whereas shapes are flat, there's only two-dimensional, only length and width, all right? But in order to make these look more like forms rather than two-dimensional shapes, on paper, you have to be able to add different types of shading to make it look like there's light hitting each form. So first I want you guys to go ahead and practice these different types of shading using line. Right? Before you use line to create an optical illusion, a lot of you use line to make things that look curved up. Those are called contour lines. But in this case, we're using different types of line for shading. So the first one here, you'll do short dashes. So you take your pencil and basically you'll just make short dashes in this box to sort of fill it up. Now I do want you to try and fill it up as much as possible. Okay, just don't give me a few dashes here and call it filled up. You have to have enough dashes to make it look like tone. The harder you press on your pencil, the darker the pencil will be. But I want you to try and get a nice even tone in the box. The next one over here is called hatching. For those of you who had my class last year, you remember that hatching is basically just straight lines evenly spaced apart. So again, you'll take your pencil and just make evenly spaced lines. The more evenly you can do the lines, the better it is, because this will read as tone. It doesn't have to be perfect though, and if some areas are thinner or thicker, that's perfectly fine. I do want you to take your time doing this. Try not to go through it too fast. I'm going through it a bit faster than I should, but that's because I'm recording this video and I don't want it to take forever. So cross hatching is where you have lines going in one direction. Hatching is where you have lines going in one direction, but cross hatching is where you have lines going in two directions. So I would take my pencil and create hatching first. And then I would go the other way to create cross hatching. Again, take your time with this, and you don't need to use a ruler for this. It's completely not necessary for the lines to be perfectly straight. But again, take your time. Don't go through it as quickly as I am here, okay? The next one is stippling. Again, for those of you who had my class last year, you know what stippling is. And I know you don't like it, but basically stippling is just dots, okay? So you're filling this box with dots to make your tone. Now I keep mentioning tone. Tone is another word for gray, but it's also part of shading. So you have one light side, usually a dark side, and a gray side. So instead of having a box where you have completely black, you probably have different areas of different types of tone. And that is what we call value. Now we'll go more into value later on, but just keep in mind that value is the idea of light and dark. All right, so next, wavy lines. And you guys already practiced wavy lines when we did those drawing warm-ups. And it's the same type of thing. Now the reason why you would use different types of lines for different types of shading is basically the type of texture you want to have. It could be because you want more of an interesting texture, or it could be because of the surface of the object. Maybe it looks more wavy, or maybe it is flat. So for something that is flat, hatching and cross-hatching is much better, whereas something that is not flat, maybe you want wavy lines or stippling. The last box here is scribbles. So basically, you're just scribbling in. Kind of like that loopy line in the line warm-up practice. You're just scribbling in the box, trying to make a tone again. All right. So the last 6 boxes, I just want you to think about your own type of shading techniques that you can use, right? Some of you may just want to put in some kind of quick lines for this, or maybe you might want to put in some kind of circles, right? There are a bunch of different things you can do. And if you need ideas of how to fill up these 6 boxes, again, you can always use your phone to look up reference images, as long as that's what you're doing on your phone. Okay, so I'll let you guys think about what you want to do for these last 6 boxes. Once you've finished with these, what I want you to do is use one of these boxes to fill in these 3 objects. So you have a cone, you have a sphere, and you have a cube, okay? And I also want you to think about the line width, the length and width, okay? I'm sorry, the thinness and thickness, rather, of the line, okay? So you can draw a light line straight across, and you can press a little harder to make it darker, and you can press even harder than that. I don't want to break my pencil, and make the line darker, right? So just like I said here for the short dashes, if you press harder, you'll get a darker tone. If you press lighter, you get a lighter tone. So each of these 3 sides should have different tones, different colors, all right? Most of the time, the light is going to shine from the top, either one side or the other, or even straight above. So here, you might want to use a very light hatching technique because the light is shining on there. For the side where the light is hitting the least, it's going to be darker. So maybe you might want to have a darker cross-hatching technique. And again, I'm going through this fast. I don't want you to be as fast as me. I'm going through this faster than I would like, but just to show you what I mean. Okay, and for this side here, there is more light that is hitting here than this side, but less light that's hitting here in this side. So it should be somewhere in between, right? So maybe for this one, I'll just do a little bit darker hatching technique. And you see here that, some of the lines are going outside the box line. That's fine. This is where you use the eraser, right? So I'll just use the eraser to clean that up. And I'm finished with the cube, all right? So I want you to do the same thing with this cone and with this cylinder, but I want you to be careful of how you use these different types of tone, right? So remember, this is a round object, this is a round object, so wherever the light is going to be lighter, and it's going to be darker on the other side for the most part, okay? For a cone and for a cylinder though, there is something called a core shadow. So actually this middle part is going to be a bit darker, but don't worry too much about that now. Once we start studying value, you'll get a better understanding of what I mean. These 3 boxes here, you don't need to do for this worksheet. I have another worksheet for you to do that you can practice spheres. So just do these 3 objects for right now, all right? If you need any help, just let me know.